Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so very much for dropping by this video. To anyone who's new to this channel is dedicated to the teachings of Bruno Groening, whom I consider to be the most accurate representation of what Christ taught, and not just what Christ taught, but the most Christ-like being I've ever heard of. That's my opinion. I invite you to take a look at his teachings, reflect on them, practice them for yourselves, and come to your own conclusions. So it's the New Year's is approaching. It has me reflecting on what seeds do I want to plant for this upcoming year, and it also has me reflecting on what have I done over this last year? What have I done what went well? What didn't go well? What do I need to improve? What mistakes did I make that I can learn from? What things did I do well that I want to and need to keep doing? Bruno Groening strongly encouraged people to do this at the end of every day. And I also like to do it at the end of each year. So if you feel inspired, I hope you'll spend some time reflecting on what could I have done better this year, and what did I do that went really well that I want to continue doing. So what's really been on my mind and heart lately around the teachings of Bruno Groening is the idea of balance. Specifically, holding a balance between two very important spiritual ideas. One idea, God is absolutely limitless, and for God, nothing is incurable, nothing is impossible. And I would add on to that, and because God is goodness, everything will be healed. The timing, that's another story, but inevitably, everything will be healed and everyone will be saved. Or as Bruno Groening said, the good will prevail. So here's one idea. Everything will be healed eventually. God's limitless. Whatever problem any of us are facing, no matter how big, no matter how seemingly hopeless it seems, there is an infinite power that in one quicker than a second can completely heal, relieve, shift that problem, situation. So that's one idea that I've been sitting with. The other idea is a little harder to put into words, but we can start with reflecting on that not everything heals instantly. Most of us who are here watching this video have had the experience of they've given a burden away, as Bruno Groening taught, they've taken in the energy, and yet the symptoms still remain. Now, sometimes they'll remain for a little bit longer and then heal. Sometimes they'll remain for maybe a couple weeks, a month or two, and then it'll heal. Sometimes it takes quite a bit of time. It can take a year. Sometimes they take a really long time, 5, 10, 15 years. And sometimes some things are not going to heal in this lifetime. Now, as I say that, I don't want to discourage anyone from working towards spiritual growth and healing. And the long and short of it is the reality, and Bruno Groening himself pointed this out, in some circumstances, some things are not going to heal in this lifetime. So I've really been sitting with, how do I hold both? God is limitless power. Everything will heal, but not everything will heal in this lifetime. So part of how I sit with it is to cultivate a sense of trust that not only is God infinite power, but God is infinite wisdom. And as Bruno Groening said, if a healing does not occur, only God has the necessary preview, or I forget the word, purview, which means large view, to know when a healing would be right. If a healing does not yet occur, the person has not attained the necessary spiritual maturity, or there is something that needs to be learned. So now the dots start to connect. God is limitless power. Anything can heal all the problems of this world. If God willed it, all the problems of this world, heaven on earth, could be here in one instant. If God is infinite, which I believe. However, that's not what's happening. It's very easy to look around and see, whoa, there's some problems in this world. We don't have to look far. We can just look inside of ourselves, not just our physical health, but just our thoughts or our emotions, or all of us make some mistake every day, if not every hour. Hopefully it's not too big, but hopefully we don't make big ones very often, but we all do. So God can heal anything and everything, solve all problems in an instant. God doesn't. We are all engaged in a process of sanctification, of learning, of releasing the things that cause problem, ultimately releasing what Bruno Groening called evil, Bosse in German, this energy that causes all these problems. Everything will heal, but it's not going to necessarily heal in the time in which we want it. And that can also mean that it won't necessarily heal in this lifetime. Many things can. And if we strive for it, I believe it's a fair promise to say many things will, but not necessarily everything. So this brings me to a place of surrender, of devotion, of faith, devotion, and surrender. Faith, nothing is impossible for God. Faith, everything will heal. Devotion, striving towards to be closer to God, striving towards my own sanctification, my own purification, and learning to love God more and more and be more and more devoted to the spiritual path. And surrender. The timing of a healing is not up to me. Bruno Groening often said, don't demand a healing, attain a healing. We can't force healing. And the reasons for that are many, but one of the main reasons, in my understanding, we can't force a healing is because illness doesn't come for no reason. It comes because we've made a mistake. Bruno Groening said that all the misfortune human beings experience, they bring upon themselves. If I have a physical illness, much less a life situation or an emotional pain, it's not there for no reason. It's there because I did something that was out of harmony and out of balance in the past. So for me to demand or insist, God, I insist that you heal this, it's kind of coming from a place of ignorance. Ignorance in the sense of not understanding. So if I have a particular physical illness, it's because I did something out of balance. Now, if I just seek the healing of the particular physical illness, but I don't seek to grow spiritually, that doesn't make sense. That's just removing the symptom and not the cause. I've given this example many times, but it's so poignant. Someone who was very devoted to Bruno's teachings and had many healings, but one thing didn't heal. And they were very committed to service, very committed to Einstein, just very committed. And this one serious burden wouldn't heal. And then in the middle of a community hour, they realized how much anger they had towards their, I believe it was their father. And as soon as they And it was causing extreme lower back pain, like almost debilitating. And as soon as they forgave their father, then that healed. Now let's go back to why I said it's ignorance to try and only get rid of the illness. I don't want to say ignorance, it's just not the full picture. So that person had that lower back pain for a reason, because they were holding on to resentment towards their parent. And so to just demand, oh God, take that away, take it away, and then to get angry, like, oh God, you're not answering my prayers. Why aren't you taking this away? And I'm not shaming that person or me. We all do it, but we need to catch ourselves and come to the understand, or I need to catch myself and come to the understanding that every problem I have is there for a reason, and that I need to address the reason. It's okay. It's okay to give the problem away and ask for healing. But to insist or demand or get resentful or lose faith when the healing doesn't happen when we want it to, that's based in misunderstanding. And I would know because I did it for years. And now I'm finally starting to see the bigger picture. As Bruno Groening said, physical healings are only 10% of his work. So I see I have a comment from Mystic Auto Shaman. Hey, I'll get to your comment in a moment. Let's see if there's anything else I'd like to say. So this is a very delicate point, because we don't want to go to the extreme of everything's going to heal in this lifetime or everything's going to heal this week and then get discouraged when it doesn't happen. But I don't want to go to that extreme. I tried it. It doesn't work. It leads to suffering. But I also don't want to go to the extreme of there's no hope for me. I can't make any progress in this lifetime. Nothing is going to heal. And that's why I called this talk the middle way of finding the balance point between vigorous striving with faith that everything can heal and everything will heal, but having surrender about the process, the timing, very specifically the timing of a healing. It's very radical to even, a good place to start with faith is every problem can be healed or resolved. That's a pretty, and hence Bruno Groening said, nothing is impossible for God. It's a life-changing paradigm. I've experienced many things that are beyond the laws of physics, and I'm nobody special. Many, many people on this path have. I've shared this story many times, but I'll say from Norway, she was in a circle. You know how when you're driving down the road, sometimes you encounter a circle where you have to drive around and then get off at a certain point to go whichever street you want. Well, she was in a really big one of these. Apparently in Europe, in the United States, we have them just in small neighborhoods, but she was in a really big one where it was kind of like a highway. And she needed to get over into the lane to exit, and she couldn't. She was trying and she was trying and she was trying. And no one would let her in. And she said, Bruno, help. And in that moment, she says she doesn't know what happened, but she somehow found herself moved over one lane. Mind-blowing. When I first heard it, I doubted it. I didn't doubt her, but I was like, really? But then I sat with it. I really came to believe it. That happened. More importantly, and the reason why I came to believe it is because I've experienced many, many things in my life that are just, again, impossible based on just the basic laws of, I don't even want to call them laws, but based on our scientific, materialistic understanding of the universe. I shared recently, maybe it was about 2 months ago, my car got fixed. I had this problem with my battery. I have an electric vehicle, and the dealership said it could not be fixed. And I tried multiple times, not to fix it, but just to charge it. And it normally takes about 5.5 hours to charge. And now it was taking 10, 11, 12 hours, which means it was using a lot more electricity. Or I assume that's what it meant. What I knew as a fact is the amount of time it took to charge was going up, like it had doubled. And the dealership said there's nothing you can do about it. And I felt so resentful about it because the car was only a couple years old, and I kind of felt stuck with it. But then there was this week where I was just tuning in for hours every day, even while I was walking around. I would tune in before I went to sleep. And in this dream, I let go of the resentment. I had a dream about it, about the battery, and I just was like, I don't remember the specifics, but I let go of the resentment. And I woke up and I went out and I plugged in my car, 5.5 hours. It was completely fixed. Impossible, according to physics, biology. I guess this would be more physics and maybe chemistry. Impossible. And there it is. I'm no saint. Alce from Norway is not a saint. And I've heard stories like this, reports, I don't want to call them stories, from all sorts of people all around the world. And so that's the nothing is impossible for God. And our prayers are not all our prayers are going to be answered with a yes, because sometimes we pray for the wrong things. Sometimes we pray for things that aren't good for us. And as Bruno Groening said, only God has the necessary purview, large view, to know when a healing would be helpful for a person's spiritual growth. So let's go back to the example of the person who had the back pain that was caused by the resentment of their father. So let's say that the back pain was healed, but the resentment wasn't. I can't say, all I can say is what Bruno Groening taught, and taking that in, well, it makes sense to me. If the back pain was caused by the resentment, until this person was ready to let go of the resentment, then a healing of the back pain, it makes sense to me that wouldn't be best for their spiritual growth. Because a big part of it comes down to, again, surrender is I want what I want when I want it. But that doesn't mean that what I want is what's best for me. We are, after all, children of God. And our parent, Bruno often referred to God as Father, and I sometimes feel confused about that. I'm like, well, why not Father and Mother? But then he also spoke about nature as God, and Mother and Earth, and nature as God. And he even called Earth Mother Earth. So I don't claim to understand, but regardless, we are children of God. And God, whether you think of God as Father, Mother, love, source, God's infinitely wise. We're not. God knows what's best. We don't in every situation, and hence the need for surrender. One person, a spiritual teacher who I have respect for, said it really well. When I or you, when we try and guide the show, direct life, try and be in charge of life, it's like having a monkey trying to fly the space shuttle. We need divine guidance. I'm going to take a quick peek at Mystic Auto Shaman. Mystic Auto Shaman writes, "Hi friend, catching a live while I'm at work. I love it. I love that you're healing hearts and auto parts, and that I can be a part of that." Hi, Nat. Nice to hear from you. Heart received and returned. So, beautiful souls, let's strive. Let's strive for God and goodness and health and love with all our heart, mind, and soul. And let's do it with absolute faith that we will be redeemed and saved. I don't like to use that word because the religious community has hijacked that word, but freed or saved from all evil. Inevitably, we will. All problems, all suffering. And so let's have that faith. Let's strive, and then let's also simultaneously surrender. As it's written that Jesus said, it's written that the night before Jesus was taken in, he prayed and he said, please take this cup from me. The cup meaning the crucifixion that was coming up and the imprisonment. Please take this cup from me, and thy will, not mine, be done. That's surrender, and that's honesty. Jesus didn't want to go through that. He asked God to deliver him from that situation. And he said, thy will, not mine, be done. Which, in my understanding, means higher power, Father, Mother, God, source, love. You are infinitely wise. I'm not. You're in charge. I'm not. I will go where you want me to go. Thank you so very much for dropping by. I hope people are getting in extra tuning in time. Bruno Groening said the month of December and the first week of January are a very holy time, a time of great grace. And I wish everyone a blessed, blessed day. Take care. Big love.